Hi guys, Brandy Lee here. Hey, I want to talk to you today about the three guiding principles of numerology. And this is my way to kind of help you get a better sense of what numerology is and kind of help you understand it a little bit better. Okay? Now, on the surface, these things might not appear to have anything to do with numerology, but I'm hoping to change your opinion about that because I believe they have everything to do with numerology. And I'm getting ready to tell you why. So, let's get started. Okay, first guiding principle, number one, is everything is energy. Now, contrary to its name, numerology actually has more to do with vibration than anything else. Okay, the law of vibration states that everything is moving, everything is constantly moving, never in a static state. Numbers are no exception to this. Okay, when we numbers are very fluid, and even though they each hold unique traits, they can also be viewed as existing on a spectrum, okay, a continuum, if you will, um, where you have two polarizing opposite extremes at either end, and then everything in between, right? Well, for example, the number one. The number one can be expressed as independence, and it can also be expressed as dependence, right? It can be very self sufficient, and then on the other hand, it could be not self sufficient at all. Um, the one is typically thought of to be a very action oriented number, like a real go getter. Okay, so it can be very active. It can also be very lazy. It can be paralyzed by inaction. Um, Another example is like the two. The two is actually it's actually all about the other, right? It's about being very sensitive to another's needs. Well, it can be expressed as being very agreeable and considerate, while also over here being very argumentative, very critical. So, it's interesting to note that each number, it holds within itself the opposite. So when a number represents or can be expressed in one way, it can also be expressed in that very opposite way. Okay, so that is something to keep in mind when you are looking at the numbers, especially the numbers that are present in your personal chart. Um, you can express them different ways at different times too. Okay, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But the thing to remember here is that all numbers are energy that can be expressed in a multitude of ways. Okay, that's number one. Number two is everything is connected. Okay, now all psychological traits are present in the numbers 1 through 9. Okay, and the numbers 1 through 9, those are what we call the root numbers because they're the only single digit numbers that exist. Okay, that's the crux of numerology. Everything we do is revolves around those single digit numbers. Most of the time, we will reduce everything to a single digit, almost all times. Okay. However, everyone on this planet, right? We all come here with a name and a date of birth, the two most foundational things for any numerology chart, your name and your date of birth. Well, you know, the thing to know about that is that you're a combo, right? You're a combination of all the numbers, all numbers 1 through 9. Um, your your chart is you're a blend. You're a blending of all of them, right? A mismatch of all of the unique influences and qualities that come together to make you you. So, in this way, numerology can be thought of to be a symbol of humanity. Okay. Now, I want to highlight one thing here is that of all the numbers 1 through 9, no number is any better or worse than another. Okay. There's no such thing as a good number or a bad number. And if we look at the numbers from in sequence, right, from 1 to 9, okay, they're different. Each number is different, right? It holds unique traits, but they build on each other. Okay, and this is the connectivity factor. This is how they come together to blend, right, together in our charts. Let me give you an example. So the number one is thought to be, it's very concerned. It's primarily concerned with itself, the one and only, right? Um, it it does what it wants when it wants without concern for another. Well, the two, like I said before, it's all concerned. I mean, it's concerned only for the other, really. Its focus. Its focus is on cooperation and balance and being sensitive to another's needs. Well, that's the polar opposite to the one, but the one actually needs the two in order to create anything greater than itself. The one can't do it alone. It may think it can, but it can't. So it needs the two. It needs the cooperation and the tactfulness and the sensitivity of the two to be able to work with another, right? To form connections. Well, so the one needs that. It needs two's qualities to blend with its own innate qualities in order to make that happen. And that's a good example of how the numbers work with and cooperate and blend with another. Okay, now numbers that are neighbors in this sequence, right? Numbers that are neighbors to one another will exude opposite qualities. Okay, like the one and the two, right? They're polar opposite, but all the numbers will, and we'll get into this in another video, but because you've got even numbers and odd numbers, and you've got mental numbers, spiritual numbers, physical numbers. So you have different groups of numbers that work together in certain ways. You've got introverted numbers and extroverted numbers. So I mean, there's a lot of layers to how they work and blend together. Okay. But the thing to remember here is that you are not just one number. Okay. So when someone asks you what your number is, that's not an easy question to answer, because they're probably asking or wanting to know what your life path number is, but that you're a blend. That's a loaded question, because the simple answer to that and the most complex answer is I'm all of them. So, but I will. Okay, one quick note is that you're, like I said, you're a blend of all of the numbers together. You're also influenced by the numbers that are missing from your chart. We'll talk about that in another video as well, because you're influenced by the lack of influence, if that makes any sense. So that's number two. Okay, everything is connected. Number two. Okay, so moving on to number three is everything, or I'm sorry, there is purpose to all. That's number three. There's purpose to all. Now, what we're talking about here is everything happens for a reason. Okay, numerology observes the belief that we all choose our name and our date of birth before incarnating. Okay, this may seem somewhat controversial to some of you that will say, of course I didn't change, I didn't choose my name. I don't even like my name. Or some of you that may have your mother may have had a scheduled birth, and it was all pre-planned, and in a sense it is all pre-planned, but numerology says we choose our name and date of birth for a purpose. Okay, it's very purposeful, and it's part of our life's journey to then come to the realization of the reason for our choice, why we chose that, why we chose our name, why we may choose to go by a different name. Maybe we go by our middle name, so there's purpose to all that. And numerology helps us to understand that reason. Okay, so the thing to remember here is, you are more in control of your destiny than you might realize. Okay, through the choosing of your name and your date of birth, you did so for a specific reason to fulfill a specific purpose. Okay, so that's number 3. Okay, purpose to all. So to sum everything up, numbers are energy. Numbers are energy that can be felt, and expressed in a variety of ways through the name and the date of birth that you chose to fulfill your life's purpose. Okay. Now, life is all about movement, and the numerical influences that are present in our life. Sorry, this is Lily. All of the numerical influences that are present in our life, a lot of them are constantly changing. Okay. Now, not all of our numbers are changing. For instance, some are going to be with us forever, throughout this entire lifetime. They're a permanent fixture in our life, such as our life path number. But a lot of the other numbers can change, and often do change, specifically those that are tied to our cycles and our, that, and again, we'll get into that in another video. But what's good about this is that when the numbers are constantly changing, right, and they're making their influence known in certain parts, at certain times of your life, you have an opportunity to then be able to evolve in how you express them. Okay, because as you evolve and you grow and you mature and you change, then you're going to then express these numbers in a different way. For instance, if you used to be, like, if you have the 1 influence and you used to be very controlling and aggressive, even very domineering, then you might be able to then translate that to becoming more assertive, more confident, and then bring in some of the other influences that you have in your chart that will help soften that. So as you become more conscious of the numbers and the influences that are present in your life, then you will then start to grow into them, right? And you'll start to express them in more positive and uplifting, beneficial ways. Okay? So that'll do it for today. If you liked this video, give me a thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Or let me know in the comments below. I created this channel for 3 reasons. I want to inspire you to live in spirit. I want to empower you to live your fullest potential. And I want to uplift you with information that will help expand your consciousness. I post videos weekly on metaphysics, spirituality, and numerology. So if those are some things that you're into too, then subscribe. I would love to have you. Till next time.